Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if this is. I'm sure this has happened to you. You're sitting there doing your thing in front of a mirror. You're kind of like, in the zone, and things just kind of like seem to flit in your peripheral vision inside the mirror. I don't know if that ever
Oh,
happens to you, but a lot of stories about that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a different type of mindset you have when you're looking into a mirror.
Yes. Yeah, isn't that weird? You're right. It's almost like it's a different brain that you use while you're staring in the mirror, doing whatever you're doing. It's almost like a different reality that you're entering into with the reflection of yourself.
Yeah, and I think the different mindset you have in those moments are necessary to perceiving or experiencing ulterior phenomenon, much like what Christopher Reeve had to do. Like he had to remove all of these modern amenities and signifiers from his room. But when he left that one last thing that broke the concentration, that's when he had to leave that time. So I think there's something really profound about both the movie that you're speaking of and just this concept of not being able to see the entire hotel until you're looking into the mirror.
Oh man, this is rich. This is really. Matter of fact, I have to give you the caveat on that movie, Vince, with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. My brother, Greg, he's a year younger than myself, was the costumer on that film. Worked at Universal Studios at the time, and the entire film crew went out to this little, small, actually Victorian era island in the middle of Lake Huron and filmed that movie in the summer of 1979. And I actually got to be, through my brother, an extra in the film, and ended up being in quite a few scenes. So that was it was just my, really magical summer of 1979, being on a beautiful island that, by the way, there are no cars allowed on the island, nothing but horse-drawn carriages and fat tire bicycles, just like it was in 1910. And boy, you spent about a month on that island. You swear you were back in 1910 just by the surroundings. So it's kind of fun that you're explaining to us what exactly you're looking at and you're experiencing in this beautiful Hotel McMinimans in Centralia, Washington. How long has this building, this hotel, been there? Do you know?
Oh, well over a century. I know that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, no, I don't quite have the information sheet in front of me, but yeah, it's been around a very long time.
Well, I would imagine then that this thing has a full basement, some kind of a cellar in there as well.
Yeah. It definitely, and you could say this about a lot of buildings in downtown Centralia, historic downtown. There's a lot of secrets and mysteries to the structures here, and that's what constantly pulls me back to this place.
Now, there isn't anything such as a underground Centralia, is there? Just like, Seattle was burnt over a couple times and they just built on top of the foundations. Or are any of the buildings connected under the ground with tunnels or anything?
Well, there's not a underground Centralia per se to where there's an old Centralia underground, but there is an interconnected series of tunnels that many of the historic buildings on North Tower all go to. And, that had a lot to do with just the early bootlegging days, just kind of doing clandestine, illegal things below the surface.
Oh, now that adds to the story, doesn't it? So we've
absolutely.
got the women of the night upstairs. We've got the basement and the tunnels underground with all the booze being run back and forth. That's fascinating stuff. So what brought you to go to this hotel? I know you research and get into all the details of the weird and wonderful on Pacific North Weird, but why did you decide to stay overnight here at this hotel?
Well, as you said, it's a major source of inspiration for me, a place I do a lot of research. And my girlfriend, who I'm sitting right here with right now, Sabrina, she has never spent any time in Centralia. And like me, she is a fan of the cryptic, the paranormal, macabre history. And I thought I would let her experience this wonderful place for her first time. So we're just enjoying that this evening.
Well, Vince, why don't you put Sabrina on the phone, hand her the phone, and let me talk with her for a few minutes, if she would, and get
she
her
would love
perspective.
to.
That would be fun.
She's right here.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Sabrina, thank you for jumping on here with Vince and myself. This is kind of fun to have the female perspective of Vince out there in the weird and wonderful reporting from the field like he always does. But I was just having him describe a little bit about this room that you guys are going to stay the night over at this haunted hotel. Do you want to get your perspective on what this room looks like and feels like for you?
Well, yes, it's wonderful. When we got to pick out which room we wanted, they gave us a choice of maybe 20 different rooms. We narrowed it down to about 3, to which I wrote down a question, and that question went something along the lines of, where can Vince and I stay that has the most paranormal activity? And we picked out 3 different rooms, and I used my pendulum, and I got 2 yeses and 1 no, and then I went further on, and I used my tarot cards. And the room that we're staying in now had a really nice tarot feeling to it. And when I look at this woman on the wall, she looks like everybody's grandmother. She's smiling. She's got a pearl necklace, pearl earrings. She's a little chubby with glasses, and it just feels very inviting. Whereas maybe another room might be, a little more scary. This one feels good. And when we got here, we used my pendulum again, and we asked her if she was here with us, and the pendulum right away said yes. And I feel comfortable in her presence.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm so glad that you shared that idea of you getting into the real drilling down deep here about which room you picked and how you picked it, and the fact that the pendulum and your tarot cards were instrumental in having you choose this room. Did you have any reaction from any of the other rooms that told you, well, maybe you shouldn't go there?
Yes, one of the rooms said yes initially with the pendulum, but when I flipped the card, it was the King of Cups reversed, which made me feel like maybe as a ghost or in his life, he had maybe a bad family relationship. Emotions were not good with him. Whereas opposed to this card was a woman. It was the Empress, which is a major arcana card, and a very strong female presence, which is very calming.
Oh, well, that's fascinating stuff. You're going to add a whole new kind of like a thing for Vince to be able to get some input on the situations that he kind of willy-nilly throws himself into once in a while. I know. So I think you're going to be a very calming effect potentially on this whole paranormal team out there that you two are doing. So thank you for that. Let me go back to Vince, and we will wrap this up. And then
all right, nice talking with you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Okay.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, wow, Vince. That was awesome stuff. I'm so glad she gave us some of the background and some of the details of how you guys ended up in this room, number 12, right? That's the room.
Yep.
And Jeannie Heyer is the potential ghost that you guys are cohabitating with tonight. Now, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Sabrina is a really good person to have on my side. I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah, I'll bet. Oh my goodness! So, what's your plan for tonight? It's a little early to hit the hay, but tell tell us what your plans are going to be for the evening.
Well, there's several fine drinking establishments in Centralia. One being the Olympic Club itself, run by McMenamins, and that's a wonderful place. Good drinks, a little on the pricey side, but you get what you pay for. And then just down the block, there's a amazingly dirty, scummy dive bar called the Hub, and that's more my style. I kind of like to drink with the. Well, I mean, they're more the clientele is more representative of the people who probably hung out in the Olympic Club back in its heyday. So,
yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And then, is there any kind of ritual that you go to once you come back to the room tonight? You're all done. You've had some dinner. You've had some drinks. You're kind of receptive now to whatever's going to happen. Any kind of protocol that you go to before you actually turn out the light?
Well, nothing that I would say is traditional that we do yet, but like we kind of read the situation as it is. Sabrina has set up a really wonderful shrine on the table full of pretty much everything that we're possibly going to need for tonight. There's a series of crystals. There's a framed portrait of various chakras in the human body. There is a Mass on the Day of Burial booklet and a Pee Wee Herman 50-inch wind sock that we have. I think Pee Wee Herman is magical, and he's kind of he's a higher god that belongs in the pantheon of protection.
Well, there you go. And then, by the way, do you have any technical gear at all? Do you have any EMF meters or any kind of thing that you bring along with you, even on your phone? Do you have any phone apps that you usually use or keep in handy for you?
Well, funny you should mention that, because just today we downloaded a pretty much your run-of-the-mill ghost detection app. And we were at the very haunted Lewis County Historical Museum in Chehalis, Washington, which is just a few miles away from here. And we were checking out this recreation of an old mercantile shop that used to exist in Lewis County called the Mulford Brothers shop. And there's a really interesting item in this exhibit, and it's a pair of dentures that Mr. Mulford used to wear. And they're very bizarre-looking dentures. They seem to be made partially of real teeth, but also like multicolored gemstones, like green and red, like really, really odd-looking things. And we had opened up this ghost detecting app, which basically throws at you random words from like this vast dictionary. And it didn't seem to be working because, like no words were coming. It was just kind of making a staticky, hissy sound, which I'm sure if you ever used a ghost box, it was kind of like that. And, they're odd-looking dentures, and we had made an offhanded joke about the dentures. And immediately, the ghost app shouted the word out. And we're like, okay, maybe it's time to leave. So
O-U-T, it said. Okay, out. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, you can imagine the psychometry of a pair of dentures, being so personal to somebody who is living, maybe being imprinted by their spirit upon death. Oh, that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we immediately apologized to Mr. Mulford. We did not mean to make fun of his dental situation. But we also respected his frank demand, and we took exit.
Okay.
But, we do have that app, so we'll probably be playing that at some point tonight, just to see any interesting things pop up that might connect with Genie Hire.
It'd be real interesting. Would be if you got your phone plugged in, so you didn't have to worry about the battery dying in the middle of the night. And set that app on go and just let it run all night long with the volume turned up enough so you could hear if any reaction happens in the middle of the night. And then you got to report back to us on that one next week. That would be wonderful.
Well, that's an interesting idea. I'll throw that by Sabrina.
Yeah, unless it gets too